This video was published by mbkpinternational.com. In this video, we're going to talk about our Guillotine EC19 Pro version 2 or V2 and how to change the blade and cut pad on it. First thing you want to do is the blade has 7 screws on it, and one of them is behind a plate over here. So the first thing you do is just turn on your cutter and drop the blade down a little bit. Just push the cut buttons in. Because you want to get that one right there. So just let go of the cut buttons after it comes down. Now you can use a 10mm socket wrench, or you can use the one that came with it. It's got a 10mm right here. Actually, a socket wrench is a little quicker, so I'm just going to use my 10mm socket. So I'm going to remove this one here first. And then we're just going to reverse it with the 2 center red arrow ups and get it back to the top position. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take some screws out. There's 2 screws on the side of this crown over here. I've already taken them off to make it quicker, but 1, 2 Phillips, and there's 2 on the other side. And then there's 4 on the back here on this back shield. 1 on each corner. You just need to, so you can slide the shield back about 1 inch because it's got this lip on this crown that you're going to need to take off. And then have your cutter turned off or unplugged. And just once all the screws are off, you just lift this straight up. You can either put it here like this, or you can take it completely off. This one's going to come unplugged if you lift it straight up, so it's not a big deal. You can just remember where it goes. That plug will come unplugged just like that. I'm going to take it completely off so you can get a better view of this. Okay, first thing you want to do before you go any further, before you take the blade off, is you got 3 screws on the top of here, and they're 2.5mm hex wrench. You just want to make sure they're all tight because they basically push down on the top of the blade. And why the blade is all tight here, we did remove one, but it's not going to hurt it. Just make sure all 3 of these are nice and tight, and that one's a little bit loose. That way it's telling you that it's all the way pushing against the top of the blade, because it's like a blade adjuster. You don't want them up too high because then the blade will go up too high when you put it in. So just make sure all 3 of these are nice and tight. And again, that's 2.5mm, 1, 2, 3, all nice and tight. And now we're going to go and then we're going to move the blades, some of the blade screws. This one over here, the far one, when the blade is up, the far right one there, or far left. I guess it's the right and far right one. And then we're going to remove this one right here. Is when it's all the way, it's the second one from the left. And we're going to put our lollipops in, our blade holders. Just put them into the screws. So you want to take those out because it's ones with the slots that go all the way through here on this blade holder. The rest don't do that. So there's 2 where the slots go all the way down through there. And you can put these blade holders or lollipops in about 3 or 4 turns each. Maybe even 5. Just make sure they're in there good. And now you're just going to remove the rest of them. You're going to have 3 there and that one over there. And then I would go with the side one first and get it taken care of. Hold on. Okay, I went ahead and paused the video and took out the rest of these screws. We took that out and we just got 1 left. You're going to need a second person. You can do slight up pressure on these 2 while the last one is taken out. I'm going to leave one of those center ones like that for the last screw. Okay, now both of them are out, and now you're just going to come straight down. If it doesn't fall immediately before you straight down, just kind of wiggle it. You don't want to try to bend anything, just wiggle it for it to fall straight down. And once it clears the blade holder, go to your left until the right side comes out, and bring the right side out, and you can kind of come up and out with the whole thing. And once you get that out, you just bring it over to the workbench, and you lay it down on a workbench, and then you remove the lollipops, put it in your new one. Bring your new blade. Make sure you remember which holes these came out of, because you want to put the lollipops back in the same one. On this V2, it has double holes, and so far it's always been the bottom one, and it's always been the second one from each side. It will probably always stay the second one from each side, but depending on changes in the future, it could be the top or bottom. So just make sure you get in the right hole, that these came out when you put in your new one. And you just bring it over here. And you're just going to reverse the process. You're going to kind of bring it in from the left side in here, slowly, and clear this plate here. And once you clear that plate, you can come on in. Now you can go to the right, line it up with these two slot ones that got slots, and then lift it up and just kind of wiggle it as you're pushing up to make sure it's all the way up. And have somebody put one of the center ones in.
No, you're good.
And once you get it, have someone get it nice and tight though, but there it's, then you can start putting in the other screws. And you'll just start lining up, make sure it's, you can get a couple screws in while you're holding up on it to make sure it's fully up in the up position. Have someone put a couple in, then tighten them down. Go ahead and pause this and I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, I got all these screws in nice and tight in this one. Now I'm just going to remove these two blade holders or lollipops and put the other two in. Go ahead and pause it while I put the other two in. Okay, I got all these screws in. They're all nice and tight. I'm going to turn on the cutter and we're going to drop the blade down to get the final screw on the right side. Okay, that one's nice and tight. I'm going to reverse the blade back up. Last thing is just to go over and just make sure they're all nice and snug tight. You don't want to do them super tight, but you want to do them pretty snug tight. And that's pretty much it. You got all the blade in. You're going to be putting the crown on later, but for now we're going to change the cut pad. And you just want to remove these 6 screws here. It's better to use a short screwdriver, especially on these front ones. Or the back ones, however you're looking at it. But one thing you want to do is make sure you get the right size screwdriver for the head so you don't strip these out. So you want to take them out to where you don't strip the head out. Get the right size screwdriver, get all these out, and this just pulls straight forward. And you want to make sure your cutter's unplugged. And then you're going to need a 5mm hex wrench. And you just need to loosen them a little bit. You got 1, 2, 3, and 4. You just need to loosen them a little bit, and then you can take your cut pad out and swap it to a new side. Okay, I got several of them loosened. You don't want to loosen them too much because if you do, this bar will drop down, and you want to keep this bar at the same height because it's your table sits on. If it drops too low, it'll be lower than this. It's better for it to be lower than this than higher than it because if it's higher, the paper would bump into it. But just try to only loosen it enough to where you can just reach your finger over here and pry this out. And be careful because there's a blade up there. When you're loosening these screws, make sure your hand don't hit that blade. Always be aware of this blade. It's very sharp and you're pulling this up. I might need to loosen this one just a little bit more, it looks like. And now I got it out. And you can either replace it or you can just rotate it to a new side because there's 4 sides to this. Put it on a new side. I'm going to push it all the way to the left and down. Make sure it's fully down all the way to the left. And now I'm just going to start snugging these down a couple turns, 1 or 2 turns at a time as I go down the link. Okay, I got all of them, all 4 nice and tight. Just go with all 4 of those, make sure they're nice and tight. And the reason anytime you change the blade, you want to change the cut pad. So just always remember that if you change the blade, change the cut pad. Because you want a nice clean surface for the blade, a new blade to go into. You don't want a new blade going into the old cut groove that the previous blade made. So with all that done, you can go ahead and button it up. Slide it back in place. You're going to make sure it's nice and flat. You can feel it with your fingers. And you can start putting your screws in. And one thing you want to do is this is before you get them all in, just try to line up the holes. You can visually line them up. And this is just nice and easy. Put them in. They should go in nice and easy. Just get them all started. So we'll go ahead and do that.
And once again, be careful with the blade not to cut yourself.
Always be aware where that blade is. And we're just going to get them all started for now. There's 6 of them. Okay, you got all the screws in. I've snugged most of them down. Just go over, check them, and again, you get them all started. They should start very easy. You want to start them first and make sure they start easy so you don't cross thread any. So make sure you get them started easy first, and then you can go ahead and screw them in and snug them down nice and tight. And just you can feel it to make sure the paper won't bump into it. Make sure you got them fully tightened down. Once you get that on, you're just going to put your crown back on. And you can start by kind of over to the right side first. Get it started, and then catch the left side of this right in behind this plate and on that spacer there. And then you might have to lift it up. You're gonna have to fish for this wire here is what you're looking for that hangs down. And you're gonna plug it into right there. I don't know if you can see it there. Get it plugged in, make sure you get all 4 prongs on it. And then now you can take it and put it on fully. Make sure you get on the outside of both sides. That's on the inside of it there. Okay, it's on both sides outside, and we're just gonna put the screws back in. And then once the screws in, you're gonna slide this back and put the screws all in those as well. Get them all tightened up. And then you can turn your cutter on and do a test cut and make sure everything's good on it. That's pretty much it. This video was published by mbkpinternational.com.